I can use this if you want, but you got to promise it works. Does it work? Yeah. Okay. Disappointing, right? Now you can hear me. I am sorry. It's their fault. Now listen. There's people. This always happens. People come to conferences and they meet people that they're interested in, and then they can't stop talking. So well done to you for being antisocial. But there are people outside that aren't there yet. So before we start this next session, I just want to do one very quick thing. This is indulgent for me, but also for you, but it's potentially very useful as well. I'm going to count to 3. When I finish counting to 3, I want you to clap and laugh like something amazing has just happened. Not yet. Count to 3. You had one job. Okay. On the count of 3. But loud. They need to hear it so they feel awkward. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Oh, yeah. Very nicely done. That almost felt sincere. Well done. Now, as I have mentioned a couple of times today, it is Early Career Scientist Day, and that's been dotted throughout everything. This final session of today is going to be all about that. So before we get into introducing moderators and getting anyone up here on the stage to fill the lovely chairs that are waiting, we want to have a look at 2 more student videos. We'll do those first, and then I'll tell you what's going on for the rest of the session.
My idea of research infrastructures for the year 2050 is that they will be open access. They will allow everyone in the world to be part of it and to benefit from the services that they provide. Research infrastructures will be entirely international, and they will be inclusive without any restrictions regarding political borders, career stage, socioeconomic background, or any other kind.
I imagine our research infrastructure as a virtual or even a physical space where scientists can make connections, talk, and exchange opinion about science.
By 2050, research infrastructures will break down the existing barriers to discovery and collaboration, democratizing science via connected digital ecosystems. This will unite researchers across the world and enable data sharing across different scientific domains. Also as integrated high-quality training hubs, providing universal access to research, interactive learning, inspiring a new era of public engagement and making scientific discovery a global effort.
At GBI Bioimaging, we are committed to fostering environmental sustainability across Europe's research landscape. Through our 41 nodes and 237 affiliated facilities, we're driving green practices and technological innovations to bioimaging to support the European Green Deal and digital transition. Through our activities, GBI Bioimaging will broaden the spectrum of impact by enlarging the field of intervention, such as via encouraging remote access, implementing a waste management system, encouraging the procurement of environmentally friendly services and products, adopting and developing energy-efficient technologies, embracing green IT practices, developing innovative hybrid training modalities, and much more. This way, and together, we are building a greener future for bioimaging and science across Europe. And this is how a research infrastructure should be in 2050.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a researcher at CERN in particle physics, and I work on the LHCb experiment. In the future, I see facilities and infrastructure like CERN being completely transformed by the technological advances we're making. For instance, I imagine we will have very powerful computers that will be able to process a very large amount of data very efficiently. And I think about quantum computing. Even if we are now at the early stages, maybe in the future we will be able to use it to perform the most complex calculations that are actually limiting us in the interpretation of our data today, for instance. Another very important point for future facilities will be the sustainability. So I think that we have to build facilities that are energy efficient so that we can continue making our discovery and push the boundary of science, still keeping our footprints very low. So I'm very excited to be part of this journey, and I cannot wait to see what the future is holding for us.
I don't know who's in charge of those videos, but we need to, what? Oh, right. So we need to keep them somewhere in a vault because there is such wonderful both pragmatism and optimism in all of these videos. I want to remind those people, Because as they get older and things get hard and you know, and bad things happen, I want to be able to go, no, stop, stop, stop. You were right. Here's the video. We can prove it. Don't lose that. It's powerful and infectious. Speaking of powerful and infectious, the moderator for this session is Dr. Graham Wright, who founded SingaScope, a Singapore-wide microscopy infrastructure network, part of the Global Bioimaging. He co-chaired the GBI Working Group on image scientist career paths, so he knows a little bit about this stuff. He's the director of Research Support Centre within Singapore's Agency for Science, Technology and Research, otherwise known as A*STAR. Will you please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Dr. Graham Wright.
Okay, thank you. I've been called powerful and infectious, and apparently I've started wearing glasses, which I don't know. That isn't me, but but it does have a similar haircut. He does have a similar haircut to me. Okay, we've got a good mood in the crowd. That's good to know. Good afternoon, and thank you to the organisers for putting on such an important session. It's a real privilege to host it. I think it's very important to have a day dedicated to this and all the topics we've discussed so far. I won't introduce myself because that's already been done, but as you will have noticed, today has this theme of early career scientists running through it. And this is the latest installment of that, giving an opportunity to see the videos we've already seen, but we actually have 6 people here in person who are going to deliver their pitch of the future. So I guess there are research infrastructure panelists, there are presenters, and I guess we've got videographers as well from the videos we've already seen. And they've been asked to give their perspective on a very big topic, which I think is fair to say is relevant to everybody attending this conference. They were asked specifically to pitch their visionary ideas for the research infrastructures the world will need by 2050, based on their own experience, their intimate knowledge of the research infrastructures that they work within and the networks that they're part of. And perhaps the bigger challenge of doing this feat was that they have to do it all within 3 minutes. So not just tell us what's happening in 2050, but do it within 3 minutes. So I think it's important to note that the research infrastructures of the future will be made up of the people that are speaking today and that have contributed videos. And this is the future of ICRI at the same time, which is an exciting prospect also. So I encourage you all to support them, as you have done by showing up here, but also going forward to support them as they take the work that's already been seeded as part of ICRI and part of the research infrastructures we all are part of, and take that forward as they take this forward. So we have a very packed schedule. So in the interest of time, I'm going to rely heavily on the speaker information that you've got in the app. So I'm not going to introduce at length any of the speakers because the information is provided all there. And what I ask you to do is sit back, enjoy these visions of the future, and whilst you do so, think of good questions to ask because we should hopefully have time for a discussion session towards the end. So I'm going to invite our speakers all to come and join me on stage. You can use the expensive stairs or otherwise, as discussed earlier. Okay, at least one use of the expensive stairs, good. And I'll call them up in sequence, in time, with a very brief introduction, I said. Allow them to introduce themselves, and then their 3-minute clock starts, although I'll trust my colleagues down in orange at the front to time that if needs be. So first up, we have Lawrence Lejeune, who is a pleasure to have here from Montreal in Canada. You can appreciate the distances traveled to get here, and we very much look forward to your talk. Lawrence, please, after you.
Thank you, Graham. So thank you for the invitation, and I'm honored to be here today. I want you to imagine ICRI in 2050. It seems like a long time from, and I'm waiting for my slides, actually. It seems like a long time, thank you, a long time from now. That's why I kept my picture up there. So when we meet again in 2050, I will remember what I look like today. So before imagining the future of ICRI, I want to reflect on one thing. Why do we do what we do? So for you to understand my perspective, I wanted to share a brief roadmap of my career because I'm an early career researcher, but have a long story behind me. So I started in France as a research technician in a gene and cell therapy lab, then moved to Canada, and soon became a core facility manager for flow cytometry. because of what I saw in the research ecosystem that was bothering me. A few colleagues and I founded the Canadian Cytometry and Microscopy Association, a collaborative network that is still successful today. A few years later, after an incursion in the private sector with Beckman Coulter and my own company, a few colleagues and I created the Canadian Network for Scientific Platform in 2016, a collaborative network covering distributed infrastructure in a wide range of technologies aimed at supporting platform scientists regarding their scientific RI needs. I also was honored to be invited to volunteer with Global Bioimaging as a co-chair of the Impact Working Group, all bottom-up networks. So I got hooked. Measuring impact of RIs and all the implications around that led me to start a PhD at the University of Quebec in Montreal, studying the impact of distributed infrastructures with the Inter-University Center for Research on Science and Technology, hint, social science. So, I need to change that. Why do we do what we do? So for me, obviously, it's a passion, and with a bit of idealism, after so much time, it's still there. I want to be part of the solution, and it's also an intellectual challenge. Now, how do we do what we do? I think open science is the key. And by the way, research infrastructure, we're doing open science before the word even existed, right? Want to teach, explain, share, and inspire, but mostly learn and be inspired. This becomes my vision for ICRI in 2050. Science for democracy, being idealistic in our vision, but being very pragmatic in our realization. Aim for the impossible, but grounded in reality. I want to consolidate ties with a global community with a true transdisciplinary and cooperative approach, keeping equity, diversity, inclusion in mind. Make this vision a reality in Canada and beyond. We already started that work. We make that happen as we speak, with quite a few hidden figures that relentlessly work towards these goals. We can be part of the solution. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Laurence. Very visionary finish, I like that a lot, that's very good. Okay, next we move to Thailand, and we have Pai Wabtong from Nakhon Ratchasima University near Bangkok, who's going to talk to us about his vision for the future. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Pak Phum Bopthong. I also go by Pai. I am a physicist and computer scientist by training, but I also have another hat on as a deputy director of the Office of Lifelong Learning from Nakhon Ratchasima Ratchapat University. So I really see the value of like training and educational aspect of the research infrastructures. And today I'm going to give my, I guess, 3 minutes vision of what I can see research infrastructure is going to be like for in 2050s, right? So in 2050s, research infrastructure that we are going to see is not going to be limited by borders, by resources, or by disciplines, right? I believe it's going to be the world that powered by innovations, collaborations, and even artificial intelligence, okay? And speaking about me as an early career researcher, I face many limitations that slow down my work in day-to-day, right? So access to advanced instruments is often restricted, and collaborations with other institutions and even other countries sometimes often faces barriers. And specifically for me, it's hard for me to establish my credibility as an early career researcher, okay? And also data sharing from government agencies, my own government or especially other governments, while critical is often limited by the security concern and like fragmented management system. So that making it challenging for me to kind of connect with others and like build upon existing knowledge, okay? So what I can see in the future is, imagine with me, like we have in 2050s, imagine virtual labs where everyone in the world can connect with each other seamlessly. Okay. And this lab will be powered by artificial intelligence, of course. It's enabling real-time experiments, shared simulations, and especially instant translation from researchers like us that use different languages from all over the world. Okay. And there will also be personal AI research assistants that will handle, say, like repetitive tasks, analyze data, or even suggest new hypotheses. Okay. And there will be also autonomous agents that will run experiment for you. And these agents will ensure high experimental precisions and allowing researchers like me and like all of us to just focusing on innovating, thinking, and doing good science. Okay. And then research centers in 2050s will be smart and sustainable. It will be 100% powered by renewable energies. And there will be predictive maintenance systems that will ensure uninterrupted access to vital equipment, saving times and resources. And then lastly, as you can see, there will be AI-driven collaboration expert hubs that will connect experts from all across disciplines, right? Tackling complex challenges like climate change, healthcare, and energy security, for example. And then these hubs, I believe, will make global research local, and then local solution like us global. So in 2050s, overall, I believe the research infrastructure, our research infrastructures, isn't just advanced. I believe it's going to be a beacon of innovation, sustainability, and collaborations. Making sure that no researchers, regardless of their geography, is left behind. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pai. That's great to hear. Next, we come much closer to home. So we have Ben Norton here joining us from Griffith University, which you can see a logo of just across the river, although I'm reliably informed that the campus is somewhat further away. Ben, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's definitely an ego boost to be considered an early career scientist at my age, so that's been great as well. Just before I launch off into what I believe research infrastructure will be in 2050, just a little bit about me. So I started out doing an undergraduate and a bespoke degree called Photonics and Nanoscience because what high school student doesn't want to work with whopping great lasers? I moved into a PhD in atomic quantum computing and then decided that moving into management was more my speed. So moved down to Macquarie Uni at Sydney and then got invited to come back to Griffith University as a senior technical manager. So since then, superconducting quantum computing has come out as the leading architecture, so it was probably best that I move into management, given my obvious ability to back the wrong horse. And so today, I wanted to talk about what I think quantum computing will do to change research infrastructure in 2050. Recently, there's been a large uptick in global investment around quantum technologies. And closer to home, both the federal and Queensland state government have just invested $1 billion in a company called PsiQuantum, which promises to deliver the world's first useful quantum computer, i.e. a fault-tolerant quantum computer. Australia's always led the charge in impactful research, and with this investment, Australia is leading the charge in quantum technology research. But despite the recent investments, quantum computing still is shrouded in mystery for a lot of people. So the question you might ask is, what will quantum do for me? Well, right now, quantum computing investment is being driven by the belief that quantum computers can crack classical encryptions a lot faster than the state-of-the-art classical computers can. And of course, that's bad for anybody in banking, the military, or really anyone that wants to protect their data. But it's not all doom and gloom. Quantum physics also offers a solution. And so there are solutions to protect your data using the magic that is quantum physics. And so the quantum internet has started to become a reality as well. But we're all here to talk about research. So what will quantum computers do for research? Well, in the field of biology, quantum computers should offer a speed up in the ability to solve protein folding problems. In big data, there are quantum algorithms that can search big data sets and help us provide analyses and insights into the data that we have. In the field of chemistry, quantum computers should help identify chemical complex problems, specifically in electronic structure and chemical quantum dynamics. And finally, for our friends in logistics, quantum computers should help us solve the traveling salesman problem, so we can get our Amazon packages a little faster than we do right now. And of course, there's millions of other applications, and as always, once the technology is developed, the options around what it will do for us will become a little clearer. So what do I believe research infrastructure will look like in 2050? Well, I think quantum computers will play a big part in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for that insight on quantum computing and the impact it will have. Okay, we keep the pace going. We're doing well on time, so good to hear. And next we have Ines Pignot, who joins us from VIB in Flanders, specifically in Ghent, in Belgium. So welcome, Ines.
Hello, everyone. So I forgot to mention to the organizers, my parents demanded a photo. So if you could please take a photo, it would be appreciated. Thanks. Okay, hello everyone. I'm here to give you a bit of a perspective as not a research infrastructure service user, but as a provider. So, for the ones who don't know me, hello, my name is Ines Pinho. I am a Portuguese citizen living in Belgium, and I have a background in biology and marine biology. I am currently the coordinations manager at ENPhaSys, which is the European research infrastructure for plant phenotyping. So you might ask, what is a coordinations manager? Well, I could give you a huge list of my responsibilities on my day-to-day, but I would like to think of myself as a research facilitator. So how would I like to see the future as a research facilitator? So we need to continue to promote sustainability. And in the future, we should make sustainability not a priority, but a requirement. We should also think about expanding inclusivity, so we could give excellent scientists who do not have research infrastructure in their own countries, give access to countries that do have these sort of infrastructures to allow their research to be conducted. We should also think about strengthening cross-disciplinary integration, in which we stop thinking about our own research focus and try to think of a broader picture and try to collaborate further into common problems. We could also embrace the digitalization advancements, because we do not want to be behind. And we should also think of artificial intelligence as a very viable tool while still maintaining human curiosity. We should continue to encourage open science. This is a very strong encouragement, and we've been doing some efforts into this, but we should not stop the fight. And finally, we should bridge the gap between science and society, because civilians should really see science as a benefit to their day-to-day lives. And hopefully, also, this would allow my family to stop asking at family dinners what exactly I actually do as a job. But please, as research infrastructures, let's not forget our focus, which is to support researchers in advance excellent science. And with this final message, I would like to thank you all on behalf of myself and on behalf of ENPhaSys. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ines, for that inspiring talk. Now we move again closer to home, although this time to Melbourne, and I'm delighted to introduce Ash Dyer from Monash, Melbourne, who's going to tell us about his inspirational ideas. Ash, please.
Hi, everybody. I'll start with a quick question. What does a subdural brain electrode, a $50 note, and a non-invasive ultrasonic drug delivery device have in common? I'll put you out of your misery. They are all researched and partly developed at the Australian National Fabrication Facility at the Melbourne Centre for Nanofabrication, where I work. So the MCN is, there's a few facts there, but it's the largest open access clean room facility in the Southern Hemisphere for now, until ANU open their new facility. And so I can still say that. And we're located on the lands of the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And sorry, I was going to use my phone for this, but the facility kept on messaging me saying Air Handling Unit 6 was playing up. So I'll spare you the details. So at the MCN, I'm a Senior Process Engineer, Deputy Facility Manager. And what that means is I train people how to use, I conduct fee-for-service work, as well as develop new capabilities on advanced micro-nanofabrication equipment within our clean room. So when I say that it's an open access clean room, it means it's open access for everybody. All of Australia and all of Melbourne have access to the tools and equipment inside of MCN. And it means that tools that are placed inside MCN aren't just used once a week for a research project that then becomes a white elephant after that postdoc finds a better position somewhere else, off sailing around the Cayman Islands or something. But it means that the tool is placed in MCN and a team of engineers is placed around it, and we'll look after that tool and we'll train people how to use it and we'll help them develop their processes. Meaning a tool that could possibly be used once a week for one research project can potentially be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's a much better return on investment for any government trying to develop in research infrastructure. So all the work done, fee-for-service work I mentioned at MCN, is all done under ISO 9001 principles. So everything's trackable, traceable, all the way down to our maintenance and calibration of the tools. So people know when they do work with us that it's all traceable. And MCN is the proud product of a joint venture agreement between 7 Victoria universities, state and federal government in terms of NCRIS funding. So we're very happy to be here, and we're very happy that all the stakeholders seem to be happy. And we're one of many sites within the Australian National Fabrication Facility. So I was hoping that giving you a brief insight into what I'm doing now will really help show you how that's kind of influenced my view of the future for 2050. And I'd love to see more research institutions and research infrastructure open their doors wide to do, open access research to anybody, because that way, if we're all collaborating and working together, we don't run the risk of duplicating tools and capabilities. We can work together in order to develop processes in tandem, and we can come up with cool new things that we didn't know that we could do alone. So the last thing I wanted to say is this open access collaboration dream can't be done without research infrastructure support workers. We need to make sure we've got a sustainable skill pool of skilled engineers, platform managers, academic specialists, technicians, whatever you like to call them. There needs to be procedures in place to acknowledge the people working with these tools, as well as provide them with career pathways and career progression opportunities in order to keep them in the workforce and advancing. All while keeping an eye on the future and making sure that the next generation of research infrastructure support workers are coming up after the current ones. That's what I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Okay, perfect, Ash. Thank you very much. And our final speaker, thank you for waiting your turn, is Joel Bautista, who joins us from Quezon City in the Philippines. So Joel, over to you.
I'm just quite curious before I start my talk, so I just want to have a quick poll. Who among you would like to try a driverless car going back home? You may stand up. Who would like to try a driverless car? Just only one? Okay, so you may stand up. This is your perfect opportunity to stretch. Okay, around 1 to 3% of the participants, the scientists around the globe would like to try driverless car. Okay, so the rest have trust issues with AI. Okay, okay. So kidding aside, so my talk So I would like to share my vision. So I'm coming from the perspective of a technologist. I'm a computer science teacher, high school teacher, and a university teacher or professor in the Philippines. So instead of asking or prohibiting my students to use TikTok, I let them do projects using TikTok. Maybe, creatively, okay? So yeah, moving on. So how do you... Oh, forward. Okay. So as a technologist, my guide for envisioning or doing trend analysis and forecast and foresight on research infrastructure in 2050 would be the Industry 5.0, wherein according to the Industrial Revolution, so in the future or in the Industry 5.0, so it's going to be human-robot co-working. So definitely we'll have more affairs with robots, okay? And perhaps dating a robot, okay? And us doing the coffee and the robot will do our job, okay? Of course, just to expedite the process of scientific breakthrough and societal development, which is, of course, our goal as researchers and scientists. Now, aside from the human-robot co-working, so we'll be on bioeconomy, robotics and AI, renewable resources, more of that, bionics, and of course, sustainability. So I'd like to also share this trend, of course, on the use of industrial robots. Of course, we're heavily impacted with this industrial revolution, the way we work, live, and even do research, okay? That's why the Industry 5.0 will also definitely affect us. Now, this is the trend, so more and more are relying on industrial robots, service robots, so definitely many of us will be doing prototypes, of course, using 3D printers, okay? And of course, expediting the process of discovery. And I'd like to also cite this, the European Commission pillars for Industry 5.0, wherein, according to these pillars, so it would be human-centric, sustainable, and resilient, wherein it's going to be more human-centric. Instead of, replacing the driver in a driverless car, it's going to be, there's going to be new careers, like people who would be needed to, code the robot and do the maintenance of the robot. So there would be new careers. Therefore, there would be upskilling and retooling of skills. So the driver has to take a course on coding and robotics then, okay? So now, sustainability, new skills for us researchers and circular processes. So we have to ensure that all of our steps in the production or even consumption are green. So it's good to know that we're doing the greening. And even instead of putting up our own data center, we just rely on the cloud, okay? And lessening the need for more cooling and even human resource and spaces, which of course contributes to carbon footprint. Not only carbon footprint, but digital carbon footprint. That's another thing, actually. Now, resilience, being able to change quickly to stay ahead of the curve and adapt to changing market dynamics. So I'd like to cite the statement from the first side event that I've attended. So since I'm from the ASEAN, and then a developing country, in fact, last October, we experienced 6 super cyclones. Imagine that. So definitely you'll learn a lot from how we prepare from that disaster, okay? So, and we are experiencing some of them. We didn't expect them, but then we're already experiencing this climate change effect. So therefore, disaster preparedness and resilience and adaptability are among the things that we have to consider. And I'd like to also, as a technologies, when we consider these kinds of transformations and even changes, we have to consider this framework, the people process technology. We have to address these challenges for the people, the skills gap. So we have to, in my case as a computer science teacher, I ensure that my students have the data skills and the computational thinking. Resistance to change, of course, we have to address that. And diversity and inclusion, for the process, integration of new technologies, data management, sustainability process, technology, interoperability, and cybersecurity, and the cost and investment, and of course, the support. So we need that support. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, of course, everyone, especially for shouldering all the expenses for us to get here. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joel. And I'd like to invite the audience to congratulate all the speakers and give them a big round of applause. Okay, we have some time, I'm reassured by the front row. We have some time for questions, so I'd encourage questions from the audience, because this is obviously the first time you've seen this, but I do have a few stock questions to fill a gap while you all think of it, or put your hands up and a microphone will make its way over to you. To the panel, and I'll if you have a burning response to this, please jump in, otherwise I'll have to pinpoint some people. But we had a session earlier today, which was session 13, unlucky for some, on the skill sets required to be imparting into the people working in research infrastructures to enable the next generation, to enable the continued development of these research infrastructures. So from your own perspectives, and we've heard a lot of different technologies here, right? From human-robot interfaces to quantum computing to plant phenotyping, nanofabrication, et cetera, et cetera. In each of those disciplines, or in the disciplines that are relevant to you, what are the skill sets and the training needs do you think are relevant to your community that you would want to highlight to an audience such as this? Anyone? Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I can start. So my perspective, I will say this as an admin and managerial role. Joining with a scientific background, I noticed that there was a lot of legal, financial jargon that I was completely unfamiliar with. So I had to do a lot of research and educate myself towards policy, legal, and also financial rules that relates to research infrastructure. So at least from my side, and for someone who has a scientific background, I think it would be very useful for people who will become the future leaders of research infrastructures to have also some sort of training towards what to expect as legal, financial, managerial skills for the future. So this is my perspective.
Okay, thank you. Any others have something to add? Joel?
Yeah.
Please.
So since I'm teaching in high school, I think among the skills, our kids should, as future scientists, would be critical thinkers and ethical users of technology, because as the technology evolves, so there's a sophistication, and the tendency is they tend to be bombarded with lots of information, so they have to verify also the source of information, especially in my country, there's a rampant misinformation and disinformation. So the tendency is if they saw something in social media, they tend to be gullible and believe right away. So I always keep telling my students to verify first the information and to think before they click, or to verify whatever they share. Be responsible users of technology. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Laurence? Yeah, I can add a little thing about person skills. So it's very important to work in an ecosystem with lots of different personalities. So I've learned over the years that that can be a key to be successful or having a failed thing. So being people-centric is a skill that is not that easy, and also be very strategic. Understand where you are in the ecosystem and how you can bring solutions and go out of the classical path of complaining because you don't have enough resources and everything. Try to flip the coin and look at what you can bring to the table and be at the table.
Okay, thank you. Ash?
To continue about the people-centric approach, I really like that, because that's one thing you learn as an engineer. When you're training somebody who's nervous will generally break a lot more equipment than somebody who's calm and collected. So if you're training somebody and you have no people skills and you're like, that's bad, you are bad, you've done that wrong, it's going to lead to a lot more issues down the line than if you go, oh wow, I didn't realize the machine would do that, or like, oh brilliant, the interlock works. You know, oh, we can fix that, and we can learn from, yeah. So yeah, it's really nice, and especially when you're dealing with a lot of people and you're trying to organize lots of different trainings and stuff, being people-centric is definitely a soft skill that's really nice to be able to develop. So.
Excellent, thank you. I'm assured we have a question from the audience. If you can state your name, where you're from, and if you'd like to target any particular member of the panel, please do so.
Hi, good. Is this thing on? It is on. Okay. First of all, I want to thank. My name is Michael O'Neill. I'm with the Canada Foundation for Innovation, which funds research infrastructures and post-secondary education. I want to thank you all for a most excellent panel. There's a lot of energy on this stage, and that's amazing. Almost, you know, anyways. I mean, yeah, I feel old compared to you guys. But maybe I've switched to decaf too early. But anyways, on the topic, and it's really surprising that you've kind of launched in this. It's actually not the point of my question, but if Carthage Smith is in the room somewhere, the OECD has produced a series of reports on the skills for early career researchers, particularly for those who may end up in careers outside of academia. For those in the room who are not familiar with that work, I would very much suggest reading it. There's an executive summary at the beginning, so you don't have to read all the 40 pages. But here's my question. All of you in some way have talked about collaboration, working with others, and so on. Inez, you're from Portugal, you're now in London. We have two colleagues from Cambodia, from the Philippines. It's a harder world to move around in, so I guess my question is to you is, particularly Dr. Buantang, I apologize for my pronunciation. You mentioned access to equipment as a real issue for you. So I guess that's my question, is the fact that you're kind of like in a global south country, although developed, is that more challenging for you than, for example, some of our colleagues here who are from quote unquote Western countries? Thank you.
Sure, I can speak about that from my personal experience as well. And I would say that the challenges, it really depends on the field that you are in. So I am from, by training, I'm material science and also computer scientist. And my work involves around material discovery. And back in my PhD, so when I graduated from Caltech, it was, all the equipments were there for me. I just walked 2 buildings and I got all of my equipments. Then when I came back, it became very challenging experimentally, because you cannot do experimental work as fast as you would want. But if on the other side, so my work has the experimental side and then the computational side. The computational side, it's actually not that hard compared to other regions or my past experience. So I would say that experimentally, we have all the equipments that the researchers would need, maybe not in the country, but in the regions. What we need is just someone to connect us with others. So it really depends on the researcher as well. If you have worked with other countries before, then it becomes easier for you. Right? So I can, well, basically, I just connect to my previous advisor and I can use their facilities. But in terms of the computational side, the one that the countries or the regions can make a good impact, right? I think it becomes, I don't want to say that a burden on the countries, but I would want the countries or the regions to push a little bit more on the, I would say these are the low-hanging fruits, right? Because the infrastructure for computational resource is not that capital intensive compared to the experimental work. So I would say it's challenging for developing countries' researchers, but it really depends on the field. And you can easily alleviate that by just knowing right people. Right. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions from the floor? There's one right at the back there. Sorry, Sally.
Okay, thank you. I guess there's been a lot of positivity in the conference about, you know, the future and how we can make everything better. But those of us who've been around a while know it takes slightly longer than we'd all wish for these changes to happen. So I guess the question I have for you guys, what's the one frustration or the one thing you would like to change quicker to make this future that you want happen faster than perhaps some of us? I'm a funder, I'll confess, so we're part of the problem of not making these things as quickly as possible. But what's the one thing you would pick to make this happen faster so that future you imagine can be here tomorrow and not 2050?
Okay, I'm going to ask Ben to answer that first because he didn't get a question yet. So.
No, thanks for the question. Look, I think there's a wide range of different problems facing the research infrastructure community. Something that I do see a little bit of is a breakdown in collaboration at times. And so where we see large amounts of people collaborating together and driving forward in one coherent direction, we are seeing quite rapid changes. So I think, getting people to work together to really drive towards some of those strategic goals that we all have, I think would really help speed things up. And I suspect that will help our funders truly understand what people are looking for.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Anybody else want to address that question specifically? Laurence?
Network. We already have network in place. We already have people collaborating in research infrastructure. Put the little 0.1% that can coordinate all that, because there's lots of isolated initiatives, national, regional, and there's a lot there that can be leveraged.
Okay, thank you. I'm reliably informed that I should start to wrap things up, so I will do so. We've seen a real tour de force. I think the point that was made by Michael about the energy on stage and the enthusiasm was infectious. Not me this time, it was just infectious. So if you walked in late, that's not going to make any sense, but we'll come back to it. And it's been a real tour around the world, I think, which is something of value to this session as well, that we've heard very, very different contextual perspectives. For me, the take-homes were around this fast pace of technological advancements that we're seeing in all of these different fields, but it's the importance of combining that with the people and the community and the training needs and the collaboration that we can realize from that effort. So for me, that's an important take-home from this session, as well as, of course, to support our early career scientists and all of these initiatives that we've heard about. So thank you, everybody, for your attention. Please join me in thanking our speakers yet again. And before you leave the room, we have 2 more videos to play from our collection of videos, many of which have been screened outside, and I'm sure that will continue tomorrow as well. So please keep your seats and pay attention to the last 2 videos. Sorry, guys, you stay on stage as well.
Research infrastructures are complex and heterogeneous, growing in size and budget, and unknown to many. My name is Katarina Heil, and I work for the Elixir Hub, the distributed European research infrastructure for data and life sciences. Based on my experience as a student in STEM, as well as during my PhD and future role as a scientific project coordinator, I had little to no idea around research infrastructures and was missing out. Today, and looking ahead, I have a dream, and I would like to see research infrastructures to be a central player to facilitate research, make research more accessible, and play a central role in coordination and sustainability. But how? RIs as facilitators, they are enablers bringing values to researchers, in an ideal case without them realizing that they are relying on an RI-supported service. RIs make research more accessible in the sense of equipment, data, knowledge, and more, allowing everyone to benefit from the most up-to-date technologies. In other words, apart from working towards a world without barriers, this accessibility leads to a more equitable, diverse, and inclusive research landscape. RIs as coordinators and sustainers. They bring together key players in the field to address bigger and more transversal questions within but also across RIs. And all these efforts should at all times align with the open science principle and will help to connect regions and the world, ensuring long-term sustainability of resources, knowledge, and talent, not just for researchers, but the broader community, including citizens. Last but not least, I would like to add 2 additional ambitions where RIs should keep playing a key role and enhance their efforts. One of them is visibilizing many different science-related roles, such as data stewards, project managers, research engineers, and many more. And they should also support training that is needed, not only on a technical, but also on a managerial and coordination level. An RI without users makes no sense. Hence, it comes down to us, the community, to ensure its usage. Ensure that RIs fulfill a purpose and are being used to serve the scientific community for the greater good. And to close, Personally, Elixir makes me part of an international network, working collaboratively on a local, national, international, and global level. 25 years might sound like a long time, but time flies very quickly. Bringing people together is crucial to keep moving forwards towards outlined objectives and possibly make dreams come true. Maybe by 2050.
Hi ICRI 2024. My name is Richard Jacobi. I work at EMBL Heidelberg, where I'm funded by an ARISE fellowship. I work on mass spectrometry and metabolomics. To ask the question, where will research infrastructure be in 2050, I thought I could identify a few trends that I've seen in the organisation. And one trend is for increasing automation. And this involves automation of manual tasks with robotics, and at the same time, automation of computational tasks with artificial intelligence. And obviously, both of these trends will continue to be bigger over the next decades. Another trend that we're seeing parallel to this is increasing specialisation in core facilities and demand for really specialised staff with sometimes years or decades of experience in one's very, very advanced technique. And there's almost a small contradiction between these two things, but one way they might be reconciled is that research infrastructures start to provide two kind of parallel lines of doing things. One which is more routine and highly automated, and the other which is more customized and personalized and really uses the expertise of those staff. A third trend that we're seeing in the institution involves sustainability and environmental friendliness. And research infrastructures can have a role to play there in terms of getting equipment that can be repurposed or recycled or upgraded, and also in making lab space or pieces of equipment that can be modular or flexibly used depending on the project. And the fourth and final trend that we're seeing is a demand for trained staff in research infrastructure who have that core expertise in the scientific service that they're providing, but at the same time the various soft skills that go along with research infrastructure, such as project management and budgeting and communication and all of that. So that's my take on where research infrastructures will be in 2050. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, so thanks everybody. It's a wrap. Thanks to everybody again for presenting. It's still not me, so if anyone wants to own up to identity fraud, you're more than welcome at this stage. Let's take really real positives from this. Big thanks to the ICRI organisational team for including such an important session in the schedule as well. Thank you.
You're playing a soundtrack. You're playing me off where I've got on. That's harsh. I mean, I get it, but it's harsh. Just a couple of quick bits of housekeeping. By the way, I think I understand it now. I think I get it. I think the photograph wasn't a mistake. That was you in 2050. It's an act of genius. It's very clever. Well played, ICRI.